had to vacate because
ready wherever.
Call the roll, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you have your phones on, if you put them on silent, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to ask for a moment of silent prayer, please. Okay, thank you. Roll call. We'll start with myself. Mike Smith's here. Commissioner Dove? Here. Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Culberson?
Here.
Commissioner Stephen?
Here.
All righty. Now we have public comment, and I want to get to the first young man first. He was last week, and I didn't get him. So come on up, sir. Introduce yourself, and you have 5 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. My name's Tom Johnson, or TJ is usually what I'm addressed as. Address is 31823 215th Street. I've got 3 questions here, and it might involve some long answers, and I know I only got 5 minutes. So if it's more appropriate to get with someone later, I'm willing to do that.
Be glad to do that for you.
So just to get right into the first question, Jeff commented last week that taxes, a third of the taxes have gone down. And I just wonder, what third is that, and how's that determined? Because my family and my friends, and after that I asked if their taxes have gone down, and their taxes have gone up.
Yep.
And I want to stop myself here. I want to preference this. I understand we need taxes. I'm not against taxes. I just think sometimes there's a more reasonable way. So if you want me to go ahead to the next comment or question.
Yeah, we'll get those. We can have the county administrator get you some answers on that, the stuff you broke out.
All right. So the next one is, I'm just going to bring it up. Mr. Dove referred to it in kind of an undercover way about the Tyson debacle, and I'm very well how that went because I provided security for that. My comment on that this is how that all happened. One day I came over to do a security check, and an elected official said, hey, the commissioners are going to announce a surprise tomorrow. And I'm like, why is something a surprise? And that was the surprise. And we've seen what happened. So that kind of leads into...
well, you're right. I was the mayor in Lansing at the time, and I went down. I found out the day before, too, and it was a surprise to us what was going on. I think Commissioner Dove's comments were right on point. But go ahead, sir.
Okay, and I want to comment the Port Authority's presentation was very good, and I learned a whole lot of things. One thing, though, is they brought up about, I think, the regional traffic project. Was that the terminology?
KDOT Transportation Plan? Is that what
I'm just kind of wondering what that was and why maybe that hasn't been put out to the public.
I thought it had, but those are good questions, and the county administrator, if you'll get with them, there's a pamphlet. They did a good job on that, and there was a lot of funds from the city and the county and the state to get that fund in front of all of us, and we've acted on some of them. We'd be glad to share that with you.
Okay. And my last question is, the Port Authority had asked for more funds, and I was just kind of curious, what do they do with those funds? I understand some of those funds probably support staff, but what do they do with the funds? And I understand we need commerce.
Right.
I mean, if you look at especially the northern region of our county, we need commerce. So I just wondered, how do they use those funds to get commerce to come in?
Okay. We can sure get you some answers. One thing I would ask you to do, though, there's a lot of times that Port Authority and the LCDC does a quarterly report, and they bring up those things. A lot of questions and good information is passed out all the time. And you can watch it, or you can come down and enjoy it. We'll get you any answers that you want. Mark Lovey will gladly assist you with that. You'll just get with him afterwards.
Okay. I might not stay for the whole meeting today.
I don't blame you.
I'll just
I'd get up and leave too, but I can't.
But anyway, just give you a call then, sir. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for coming back.
That was a good one. That's one of the best ones you had.
Don't help me, Mike. Don't help me. Anyone else like to address the governing body? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Whoever. Yes, ma'am. Come on up. You guys are behind each other. I'm sorry, I couldn't see that. But you go ahead.
But you speak very well, so I'd love to follow you.
Well, you do too. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Hi, my name is Sarah George. I live in Lansing, Kansas, and I'm here to talk to you once again, asking you to please do not raise our taxes, because I am asking you to reject any proposal that would give our tax dollars to a developer who is already going to be making a lot of profit off of whatever development they do, and now they're asking for extra tax dollars on top of it. I am opposed to this for the reason that I understand your governing body last week, or was it the week prior, had said that that it is a problem here in Leavenworth County that we are not getting enough taxes coming in. If that is true, if we go with this statement, we don't have enough tax dollars coming in, then why would we entertain any proposal to give tax dollars to a developer who is already saying that, hey, this only makes sense if I can get bought off with a subsidy in order to do this development? You're asking the taxpayers to underwrite the risk of the project for a developer. It's a great system where developers have to go and make a bet and try to make money, and I'm all for that. I think it's wonderful, but I just don't want the individual taxpayers to do that, to be the ones put on the hook for that. I'm also going here to talk about a lot of these RHIDs in the city of Lansing are being driven by a city housing study that was conducted. And it was a poorly conducted study. And that's why I called our city council credulous, because they believed everything that they were told without questioning it. And I'm asking you all to not be credulous, to question what information is given to you. The housing study was conducted over a period of 68 days for a city population of approximately 11,000 people. There were only 179 respondents to this study. In order to make it statistically significant, you would have to have at least 500 respondents. So it is not a study that has lent itself to any confidence in the results. And yet, the survey talks about what the survey respondents had said. And over and above, the respondents had said their biggest issues that they have is the property taxes. That is what is driving people to question the decision of, is this county a livable county? And you all are put in this position to help make Leavenworth County a livable county. So I'm asking you to please make the decision that shows you are willing to stand up and protect taxpayers as opposed to developers. Because these developers, they're not from here, and they will be gone very quickly. All the years will pass, and still their bill that we have given them in tax dollars will be borne by taxpayers, because you're going to have to make up for the services that are necessary and required. There's much more that I could say, but I'm here to talk to you based upon these urgent requests on budgets for families, and I think I've already said a lot of this in the past, but there are people like me who don't have time to take off from work or to leave their families so that they can come here and talk to you. And yes, I appreciate that you have to sit through the rest of this long meeting. I too, I'm glad that gentleman admitted that we do not have time to stay here for the whole meeting, but that's why we pay you and entrust you to please steward our tax dollars wisely and make Leavenworth County a livable county. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. John? Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Commissioners. My name is John Redden. All right, so I think we're here today to consider another RHID. So when we consider buying a house, we must consider the principal and interest payment, the real estate taxes, the utilities, homeowners insurance, the condition of the house, how much needed repair is going to be necessary, And then we do our own calculation and we decide whether we can afford it or not. But if we can't afford it, we can't go to any governmental agency and say, hey, look, I need some money to make this happen. I want to have this nice house. That won't go anywhere. But why are developers allowed to be given governmental assistance? Why? It's because they have lobbyists in Topeka that has made this happen. And we don't have lobbyists. People that pay the taxes here in Leavenworth County, we don't have lobbyists. We have to do it on our own. Now, originally these RHIDs were started to help community houses grow in western Kansas. That was the impetus originally. And the developer, he would do everything. He'd buy the property, build a whole house, and sell the house. And then he would get the incremental increase of tax between the raw land and the final appraised house. Okay, but then lobbyists got involved, and they wanted all developers to be included in this tax abatement in well-populated areas. That was not the original intent. So, hello. Higher education. Someone had a bright idea that it would be good to get more people going to college. And the banks loved it, they're lobbyists. And so, but all that federal money, all that easy money, it just doubled the cost of education. Tuition went way up, everything went up. And so, yeah, and people that didn't want that financial assistance now, and that's harder for them to go to college. And so now college education costs twice as much as it would if all this easy money wasn't floating around. And people are stuck with college debts way into their adult life. They can't buy houses because they still have college debt. So the point is that when government gets their hand into anything, it messes the whole system up. So, so let's let the universal economic laws of supply and demand control decision making. Developments can be built without RHID assistance when the demand for housing exceeds supply. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else like to address the governing body? Betty? Come on down. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Betty Kleindens, 31891 159th Street, and I'm just here to reemphasize what Sarah and a few others have said. I do not support RHID. If the developers think it's a good deal, then go ahead and use your own money. Don't ask the taxpayers to do it. I'm for development, but development should happen with the developer developing it and making the money on his own, not asking for our tax dollars. And one concern I have about the one today is the current building, one of the buildings he has anyway, is he paid for it all on his own. He can do what he wants with it. But he's using at least one unit for an Airbnb. We don't need to subsidize another building to be turned into an Airbnb. I think that if you want to do commercial, then you need to get a hotel permit or whatever and pay the commercial taxes. And RHID is for residential, not for being used as guest housing.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? All right. If nothing else, we'll proceed on to administrative business. First thing we have is I'm going to read a suicide prevention proclamation. County of Leavenworth proclamation, where September was first declared as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in 2008. In the years since then, September has been a time to acknowledge those affected by suicide, raise awareness, and connect individuals with suicide to treatment and support services as needed. And whereas according to the CDC, each year more than 41,000 individuals die by suicide, leaving behind family, friends, colleagues, and community members to navigate the traumatic impact of their loss. And whereas researchers found that 2008 through 2018, the suicide rate among adults nationwide more than doubled. Youth suicide is a preventable public health concern and requires a public behavioral health approach to prevention efforts. Whereas suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 15 to 24 in the U.S., nearly 20% of high school students report serious thoughts of suicide, and 9% have made an attempt to take their lives, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Whereas mental illness often goes untreated in rural parts of the country, and suicide rates among agricultural producers tend to be higher. Senator Roger Marshall supported the passage of the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network in 2018 Farm Bill to continue to discuss what can be done to improve connections to mental health resources in the ag communities, declaring the week of September 18th through 22nd to focus on the mental health needs of Kansas farmers and ranchers. Whereas according to the National Veterans Suicide Prevention Annual Report in 2020, suicide was 13th leading cause of death among veterans overall, and it was the second leading cause of death among veterans under the age of 45. Whereas the County of Leavenworth supports suicide prevention awareness as an important social movement to help people with mental health disabilities understand that they are not alone in their experience. Raising suicide prevention awareness can help create understanding, create access to resources, promote awareness, and it is essential to intervening and potentially saving lives. Now, therefore, I, Mike Smith, Chairman for the Leavenworth County Commission, hereby proclaim and recognize the month of September as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and encourage all people to join us in increasing our knowledge and providing support to those in need to save lives, not just in September, but every day. Okay. I think it's well done. You know, this is absolutely true. We've all known people, I know I have, that have succumbed to this, and it's a shame.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to, Mr. Lawfrey, maybe you could outline what the county does as far as mental health services and what we provide and the resources that we do put in towards assisting in some of these areas.
Sure.
Well, Commissioner, as you know, during the budget process, annually we appropriate funds towards mental health for the Community Mental Health Center, which is the guidance center in Leavenworth. But they provide services throughout the county and actually throughout a 3-county region. We fund what's in Leavenworth County. Just didn't want to think we were funding other counties. But we also have the Mental Health Task Force that actually Commissioner Doug Smith formed and has carried on since then. And I know that they also work towards mental health awareness in Leavenworth County and issues. And then we also provide a facility over at the Cushing Center for, I guess, emergent mental health crisis for people, where it's a crisis stabilization unit. And we provide that facility to the guidance center. It's the facility is called the Guiding Lights.
Yeah, and it's stepped up the last 5 or 6 years. I don't know, Mike, and all these county commissioners have been part of it. It's a good thing.
I think in 2017, we funded less than $80,000 a year.
Yeah.
And since then, I think it's closer to $250,000 plus the space where the guiding lights is. So all those things have occurred since you've come on the commission.
Yeah.
So we're trying to respond to some of these trends.
Yeah, and they've been going on for a long time. We're trying to address it. Yeah, absolutely. That problem is out there. It's a shame. Okay, Mike, do you have anything else on that?
Oh, I do have something else.
Well, on that?
Oh, are you talking about administrative business?
No, I'm getting.
Oh, no, I
okay.
don't. Not on that.
Okay. Mark, did you have anything before I go around? Okay, I don't have anything. Commissioner Dove, do you have anything?
No, I do not, Commissioner.
Commissioner Reed? No. Commissioner Culberson? No. Mike, we're right back to you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, let me get my reading glasses out here. Lots of calls on property taxes. Lots of folks concerned about their property taxes, and I just wanted to go over a couple things that last year the commissioners have been sending letters the last 4 years requesting that the state legislature adopt a property tax cap. 26 states have a cap on property taxes of some version. Kansas does not. Last year we had a version of the cap went through the Senate, went over to the House, and was absolutely killed. And so we're going to once again, when the legislature goes into session, say the problem hasn't been solved. People's property taxes are still spiking in Kansas, and we need to have a cap on it. So I just wanted to give a couple things that the things that are available to people for property tax relief. And the legislature did give a little bit of they eliminated the state portion of property tax last year, so they can say on their postcards that they acted on this issue. And but the action amounted to about $60 for a $300,000 house. That's not enough. That's not enough action. So for people on property taxes, there's 3 programs for property taxes that you can use to help you reduce your property taxes. There's a property tax freeze for seniors and disabled. The deadline for filing for that is April 15th, and the form could be found at the Kansas Department of Revenue website. Household income must be less than $56,450 minus 50% of the Social Security. The house value of $350,000 or less for the base year, and you must be 65 years and older or 50% or more disabled veteran to qualify for the freeze. A second program is the Kansas Property Tax Relief for Low-Income Seniors and Disabled. The filing deadline is April 15th. The refund is 75% of the property taxes actually paid. Household income must be $24,000 or less. The house value at $350,000 or less, and 65 years of age or older. And the additional one is the Kansas Homestead Refund Program. And all these forms are available on the Kansas Department of Revenue website. This is a maximum refund of $700. Household income minus 50% of Social Security must be $42,000 or less. The house valued at $350,000 or less, and 55 years or older, or blind or disabled veteran, or a surviving spouse of a disabled veteran, or a child under 18 living with you for the entire year. So these are the 3 programs they have created. It does benefit those at the lower income scale, but the people in Kansas that are being killed by this are the middle class, the middle income people. And that's why, once again, when the legislature goes into session, and we go up and testify, we're going to put it out. We've got to have a cap on property taxes in Kansas because it's going to drive people out of the state. So just thought I'd reflect that, and that we're very supportive because we can even lower your mill and the taxes still go up because your valuation went up, and we have no control over your valuation. So.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Anything else? Good points. All righty. We'll go to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Start with myself. Aye.
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 All right. Next item is formal board action. Consider a motion to approve Board Order 2025-11, transferring funds from the Register of Deeds Tech Fund to BOCC Equipment Fund in the amount of $92,000. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm a bit of an anomaly. I'm not here to ask for money. I'm here to give away.
Wait, say that again.
Money.
Say one more time. Okay.
Where's your Santa Claus at?
I know.
We like hearing that. Go right ahead.
So, according to Kansas Statute 28-115, I have authority as Register of Deeds when my Rod Tech Fund exceeds $50,000 to share the wealth. I use the appraiser's aerial photography every single day in my office, and planning and zoning and road records. Also, we use those not quite as frequently, but I thought in an attempt to help lower general fund in 3 other departments, I'd like to transfer $34,000 for a scanning project, Public Works and Planning and Zoning, and then $58,000 for the appraiser's aerial photography contract for the year.
Any questions?
Mr. Administrator, do we want this money?
Well, Yes, I would think we do. Those are expenditures that we really need to have. We've already committed to the aerial photography, and the Register of Deeds has committed funding for that. This is just formalizing that by transferring it into the Commission's fund and then allowing us to make those expenditures. The scanning project has not come before you for approval yet, but that's something that the Register of Deeds has worked with Planning and Zoning and Public Works to try to get those items digitized, and I think it's a great project, and that we have money available in this tech fund is very helpful.
All right, any more comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Board Order 2025-11, transferring funds from the Register of Deeds Tech Fund to the BOCC Equipment Fund in the amount of $92,000.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? I'll start the roll call. Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Terry Love.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is case DEV 25074, a rezoning request from RR5 to RR 2.5. Morning, guys.
Morning.
Go right ahead when you're ready.
All right. Case DEV 2574 is a request to rezone the property at 21443 Springdale Road from RR5 to RR 2.5. And to be clear, this is actually two parcels. It's a large parcel up front and then a skinny, narrow piece at the very back that acts as one parcel currently. The applicant, as stated, is requesting the rezone to RR 2.5, which is in compliance with the future land use map designation, which has this identified for residential 2.5 acre. The Planning Commission did consider this at their August meeting. They have recommended approval to this body. If you have any further questions, please let us know. They also did provide a concept sketch of how they would like to split this property up if the rezoning is approved.
Comments? Questions? Looks fine to me. If no comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that
Number one.
we approve the rezoning request DEV 25-072 in that it complies with the golden factors, and move for adoption of Resolution 25-30 and approve the rezoning as outlined in case DEV 25-074 based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission and the findings as set forth in the staff report.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion?
Just have one question.
Go ahead,
This
Mike.
is on the main road, and the reason it's the 2.5 is because it's on the main road. correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So it is within 1,000 feet of a hard surface road. So that is what the future comprehensive plan map had designated for that area.
Okay.
Very good. Motion and a second. I'll start the roll call. Aye.
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 It is finished. Thank you. Didn't want y'all to get too comfortable in that chairs. Next item is Fairlane Townhomes Phase 2 RHID project. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. I zoom and just click to the right. All right. Okay. So before I get started, I wanted to, your conversation you had with Terry Lois, I have to give you guys a lot of credit for your GIS and aerial photography. I use it multiple times a week. It's a fantastic service. I love that you guys provide that. So
Thank you.
thank you for continuing. I've made all of my points on RHID in general at the meeting we had a couple weeks ago. I'm happy to discuss RHID in general if you'd like to, but it seems like you, as well as a number of the people who have spoke, are already exhausted with that conversation. So I'll just jump into my presentation. I want to give you guys an update on where we are currently. Right now, this is my last meeting about RHID. It was approved at the City of Lansing a little bit less than a month ago unanimously. It was approved by the school district about 9 or 10 days ago, 5-2. And so that's why I find myself here today. The RHID, as presented, I believe meets the county's policy goals. And I'm going to read from your RHID policy, Section 3, kind of middle part of that section. It says, Leavenworth County is predisposed to support development within existing cities in Leavenworth County over suburban sprawl. Leavenworth County is also predisposed to support the creation of affordable housing over other types of development. Further, Leavenworth County will favor RHIDs with predetermined and agreed upon limitations on either the term of the RHID or the total monetary incentive distributed to and expended from the RHID fund. And on all of those three things, I believe we comply. We're definitely within the city. In fact, there's an infill site, which you'll see. We have the city of Lansing has an affordable requirement for their rentals, which I have the Lansing's incentive policy in front of me. It says rental costs shall be no more than 30% of median family income as based on the latest release from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is typically understood to mean affordable. And then predetermined limits. Yes, we have limits both in terms of dollar amount and in terms of term. As you're well aware, we're requesting a 20-year term, so that would be a fixed term, and we negotiated a maximum cap with the city of Lansing. So it is very possible that if we get to the cap before we get to the end of the 20 years, the RHAD will terminate. So just because we request 20 years, this might turn into a 19-year, an 18-year, a 17-year. It just depends on how quickly we get to the predetermined cap. Our estimate, I know there's a lot of concern about how this will impact county taxpayers. Our estimate assumes that we will generate almost $68,000 in additional taxes just for the county over the term of the RHID. And the county's estimates, which adds in the cost per capita of services, is still a net positive over the term. I believe Mr. Lawfrey provided that memo to you guys within the last week or so, or it's in the packet. So with all that in mind, I'd kind of like to move on to the presentation. Some of this you've probably seen before, I've given before. Some of it is new information. So just kind of moving along. Project overview, it's still 21 units, 19 of which are 2-bed, 1.5 bath, which are going to be a carbon copy of what's in phase one. The two 1-bed, 1-bathroom units were us taking requests we had from people who liked the project but did not want to have to walk up and down stairs every time they went to their bedroom. So we put in some 1-bedroom units. We are looking at a fall start if this is approved. And assuming this is going to take about 24 months, and that's all reflected in our pro forma as well. There's the general site plan. I don't know if we can. Yeah, there we go. So Santa Fe Drive, which is roughly runs north and south, kind of a U-shaped entrance off of Santa Fe Drive, and that's how we were able to fit the 19 units into there. They're a bit some of them are a bit cattywampus. That's mostly due to drainage issues and elevation issues. So this is the good thing about this project is you don't have to worry about what it's going to look like. You can just go out and drive by phase one. We're using the exact same plans, the exact same building materials for everything. So this is the exterior picture, and then I have some interior pictures. These are nice places for, I think it's, I've got a list a little bit further along of who the current tenants are. You get a lot of who you would expect: young couples, divorced parents. So it's kind of meeting a need in a certain demographic, which has not seen a lot of development. This is a bedroom and bathroom. So as far as why we're here asking for RHID, it's a number of things. You have cost going up and rents not nearly keeping up. We've had this place has been available to rent for a couple years now, and rents have increased about 1% a year. Well, that's a problem when your inflation and your construction costs are going up at a higher rate. Our two biggest issues are construction cost, which I know I'm sitting in the middle of a construction project. I don't need to tell you guys how construction cost can accelerate, and interest rates as just a the middle bullet points. Interest rates have more than doubled since we started the first project, and just a quick calculation there of what it does. Just the difference in interest rate adds about $400 per unit per month because of the additional interest expense. Some of the other costs, some of the other additional expenses, which I'll get to, has to do with the site. I I think Commissioner Stephen had asked about the specifics on that, and so I wanted to bring some pictures this time. So this is the site. There's some question about how this fits into the definition of blight. I don't know the legal definition of blight, but here's just some of the things that we are working around. It does back up to two commercial sites, one of which is a self-storage. The other is the backside of a hotel. You can see that notched out area on the northwest side of the project. That is the retention pond for the hotel. And then kind of catty corner, you have the city maintenance shop. The site is lacking curb and gutter. You can kind of see it along the left side of the street. Our project would improve that street and add curbs and gutters. This is, here's one of your GIS maps that I was just talking about. So you can see it highlighted in the blue square. That is the retention pond on the hotel property. And the blue dot, hopefully you can see kind of along Santa Fe, is where we need to get that water to. If you remember from the site plan, between those 2 points is a lot of apartments. So there's going to be a lot of that has to get hard piped and redirected around the properties. Another big issue, which I'll get to in the next slide, is we have about 6 acres of off-site drainage that currently flows over this site, and we're going to have to get into the storm system. So highlighted there, you can see the area of catchment that is making its way across our property. And Commissioner Smith, I mentioned last time I was here, the old railroad track that goes through Lansing.
Yep.
That is all of the land that flows down to the old railroad bed is being collected currently and sheet drained across our property.
I remember it well when I was up there as an officer.
Right.
Yeah, I sure do.
And so that's what that's why we ended up with 6 acres of additional drainage to handle.
Right.
This is just kind of some. If anyone wants to geek out on the specifics of it, this is the kind of infrastructure cost that is going into here from our engineer. I'm not going to read this all to you. It's in your packet. So again, why RHID? Even with RHID and the redirect of new taxes back to the project, it still doesn't have a positive cash flow until year 9. And by positive cash flow, I mean that's when we're taking in more money than we're sending out. And break even is if you added up all the negative years plus all the positive years, you don't actually get into the positive territory until year 18. So despite what some of the information might be out there publicly, this is not a huge moneymaker for a developer. You happen to have someone sitting in front of you who is very local and has other investments in the area and sees this as a way to improve the area and make a long-term investment in the city. I get this question quite a bit as far as who's going to rent in these places. This as of a couple months ago. I pinged our property manager to pull all the applications and just give me a general overview of how many people are in these units, what their stated income was on their application, and where they work. So I kind of anonymized this just so I wasn't calling out specific incomes to specific people. Right. But this is kind of you've got all the all the food groups represented here. You've got professionals, blue collar, students. You've got a lot of our big employers have employees represented on here. So anyway, some of this I've covered. Some of the positive local impact, in addition to the additional taxes. We will be improving infrastructure. We'll be providing market rate workforce housing. And I think that's lost on some people that this is market rate workforce housing. This is not, there's been a couple of low-income housing tax credit developments around the county. We are not that. This is, we're underwriting people who go into these places with no consideration to keep them under, into a low-income category. Us being local, we really like using local contractors. And we also are a local management and maintenance company. That is the end of my presentation. Tim, not to put you on the hot seat, but Tim was from City of Lansing, was kind enough to come out here. If you have any questions for the City of Lansing specifically, I'm happy to take any questions as well.
Come on down, Tim. Welcome. Comments, questions?
All right, just a couple really quick things on behalf of the City of Lansing. I think the previous RHID project passed with a 5-3 vote. Obviously, that one was one the council wrestled with. This one passed the City Council unanimously. I think they felt pretty good about it. 21 units. There was a traffic study completed by a licensed engineer that was submitted to the city's engineer. That was approved. So any traffic issues, all of the people would be going to the stoplight at K7 and Fairlane. So we feel good about that. The zoning designation was established a few years ago, so it matches the zoning of neighboring properties and it fits the neighborhood. One of the things that we hear constantly from proposed businesses, they need a labor pool and they want more customers. And I think this achieves both of that. I want to say the RHID cap is around 26% of the total cost of the project, so it's certainly not over half or anything like that. I think that's a pretty reasonable amount for the total cost of the project. And for the record, and just so everyone understands, not one dime of existing tax dollars will go to this. This is only funded by the new property taxes generated by the construction.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Do you agree with the notion that RHIDs are shifting the burden of the risk of development from the developer to the taxpayer?
Is this who's this question for? Okay.
I don't believe so, no. I don't.
Could you explain that why it's not?
This is a pay-as-you-go project. The only tax dollars that are going to this are new tax dollars that are generated. So, just to clarify, it's not like the existing tax dollars are going to this. The only thing that's going to this is the new tax dollars generated by construction.
Okay, so let me give you an example of what I'm hearing from constituents. I heard this from a person that used to be in development, and she was at the cafe, Tonganoxie, and she came up to me and said, "We were in development for 50 years, Mike, and we never got any kind of an incentive all those years for any kind of the work we did. And this is a boon for developers." And the reason they're saying that is because your infrastructure cost for the developer by using this statute is being shifted from the developer onto the taxpayer. And that's why they're saying that it's a shift of the burden, because normally a developer would have to incur that cost. And with an RHID, they are collecting the taxes downstairs at the clerk's office, and instead of those taxes going to roads, bridges, and infrastructure, those taxes are going to go to the developer. That's why they're saying it's burden shifting from the private sector to the public sector. So your comments on that?
The costs of development now are significantly higher than the cost of development 20 years ago. I think you look at Lansing, during my predecessor's tenure, there were 5 or 6 different residential developers. There's probably one now. So, I think that kind of shows you it's a lot harder to do land and residential development now than it was 20 years ago. I think you look at the fact that Lansing's only had 4 new single-family homes built this year compared to other cities in the metro. I think that shows that we're falling behind. I think that shows there's a need. I think this fills a niche for what the community needs, market rate rental housing. I think around $1,200 or $1,250 a month or something like that. So I think this fills a niche of what's needed. I think it checks all of the boxes that the city had.
So I spoke to two bankers yesterday, and they were telling me within 5 miles of the location of some of these proposed developments in Lansing, certainly within 10, there are a huge demand for construction, and we have developers that are building homes with no incentives.
I would love it if those people reached out to me, because I haven't heard from any of them.
Well, I'm hearing from them.
I'll give them my cell. None of those people that you're referring to have reached out to me. I'm not aware of that.
So, give you an example. In Baser, we have multiple developments that are being built with no incentives. That's very close to Lansing. That's very, very close to Lansing.
Yeah.
But yet Lansing, you're coming here with multiple requests for RHIDs that are going to require that the taxpayer rebate the taxes, and that those
What
that
taxpayer,
money
though?
that's for roads, bridges, and infrastructure in the county will instead go to the developer for, in this case, 20 years. So I think that's the issue that folks are having with this.
I think the program has been successful in other communities. It's been successful in Tonganoxie. I think it would be successful in Lansing too.
Well, I'm not certain that that's true when I'm hearing from constituents that they don't want the burden to be shifted onto the taxpayer.
Thank you, Tim.
Has Tonganoxie had to raise taxes as a result of any three of their RHIDs?
You know, each one of these has to be handled separately.
No, I'm just, that's a question. I'm just curious.
Past RHID. But I do have a couple more questions for you. Is it your position that the county should accept all RHID proposals that are brought before us?
This is still a question for me.
Yes.
I think you guys have a policy.
Yes, we have a policy, but I want to know what your position is. Do you believe that we should accept every RHID?
I think the county should do what is best for the county.
Okay, that's all I have.
Are there any more questions on this? If not, I'll make a recommendation that the proposed reinvestment housing incentive district does not have an adverse effect on Leavenworth County and move to allow the creation of Fairlane Township Phase 2 as proposed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Now we have discussion. Anybody else? Any commissioner like to say anything?
I have some more questions. One question I have is for staff. Under the statute, RHID statutes, would an individual homeowner be allowed to receive a RHID to construct a house for a personal house for themselves?
Well, Commissioner, I think, are you asking that would I as an individual
Yes.
person could come and get an RHID?
Yep, to build a new home for yourself.
That's an interesting question. I don't think that would make economic sense for a one-off for somebody, because you would have to go and get a housing study done, which would be very expensive for one person to do. You'd have to get approvals by the Secretary of State, Secretary of Commerce.
Is it allowed? What I'm driving at is we're benefiting the developers, but when it comes to individuals, this wouldn't be practical to use.
I think individually, one person would not go and try to do an RHID on their own. I don't see anything in the statute that would prohibit it, but the individuals that would attempt to buy the houses using the RHID receive a benefit from it.
Okay. And maybe this is, I don't know if this is for Jeremy or for the county administrator. How much projected revenue will come in to the county for this project and be redistributed back to the developer in this project? Do we have a projection on that?
Yes, there's a projection, and there's also a cap. I think that's what Mr. Greenmeyer had referred to. I think I have that here. Let me get to that page. I think the fun part of digital. My thumbs are too big for my screen. So I think the developer probably can answer the total amount better than I can, but there is a cap. What I project as far as the net direct impact on the county is about a positive of $14,807.
But that's not what I want. I want to know what the total amount that will go to pay ad valorem property taxes projected, and that will be paid instead of going to the infrastructure of the county, will go to pay for the developer's infrastructure cost.
Mr. Greenmeyer, do you
have a number?
I can. It's in the packet. I don't know the page right off the top of my head, so I'll have to scroll to it. Not in
Yeah, I can't speak. The total cap is 852,000, and I'm rounding up just a slight bit. It's like 851 and change.
That's what it's capped off at.
That's what the
Yeah.
cap. So to my earlier point, if you reach that, in year 17, 18, whatever, then the RHID is up. On a yearly basis, it's in the packet somewhere. I'll keep thumbing through this.
So is that a good? If I was going to say a projected number, it'd be that 852,000.
That's where it stops.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my basic point on that is that's $850,000. That in a project like this, if a developer was not getting the government to come in and interfere, that $850,000 would go to build roads, bridges, and infrastructure in Leavenworth County. And when we use this, and this is an interesting comment by Dave Trabert from the Kansas Policy Institute. He said we ought to reduce from the county budget any of these reductions that are made to the amount of taxes we're going to bring in. We ought to consider that in every one of these RHIDs. So when we're looking at RHIDs, we have to consider if we start one, then you set a precedent for the next one and the next one and the next one. You're going to have 30 people lined up here wanting to have their taxes abated and rebated so that they, as a developer, don't have to pay property tax. But yet other places in the county, we're going to have developers that they have to pay the full rate. So my question on this, this is just a general question, is how is it that we are going to be fair to all of the developers and to everyone that's building a house in Leavenworth County? And I brought the fact up about the individual builder that wants to build a home, just to show you that it's not fair to them either. So what we're doing here is we're playing favorites. It's crony capitalism, making a decision for other people, which developer gets the incentive and which developer doesn't. And so it's a slippery slope to go down. The last question, and this may be for Mark, I'm not sure who this is for, but I was told that vertical construction was not allowed in RHIDs by a city official. Is that this one appears to have, is that not a restriction on RHIDs?
I don't believe that's restricted.
Okay. No. I was told that by a city official.
It's greenfield development. It's not infill development. It is.
Okay.
But you're still dealing with the same cap.
Okay. And I'll ask you the same question I asked the city official there.
Yes.
And I understand you're a developer, and I appreciate everything you do. I do. But is it your position that every single one of these RHIDs that are coming before the county commissioners, that we should vote yes on every single one?
Well, I mean, you guys have already proved that you're capable of voting no. So
but I want to know your position.
Well, I mean, it's a ridiculous question.
It's not a ridiculous question.
Well, let me finish my thought. Every RHID is different. You guys have authority to take action or to not take action the same way that the cities and the school districts do. Because the RHID that you imagine might be a different one than Commissioner Reed imagined. So I guess.
Okay, so maybe I should make the question more general.
Yeah.
In general, looking at the differences in the RHIDs, but in general, if a recommendation comes from a city that they have approved an RHID, in general, do you think the county should approve it?
These are all good data points for you to consider. I really don't know. And if you're worried about 30 people showing up and presenting RHIDs, you'll probably have 30 different chances to say yes or no.
We need to take a 5-minute break, so we'll be right back. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. If you did not receive the RHID funding, the project will be off.
Yeah, this project is not happening without RHID. I mean, it's spelled out in the. I assume everyone's looked at the pro forma. It's a negative cash flow for the first 7 years. So you take the incentive off of there, you'd be doing me a favor to not build it, or I'd be doing myself a favor to not build it at that point.
The housing study from Lansing, and maybe I don't know if I should address this to Tim, but maybe I should address it to you. It seemed to call for more of a medium And I guess I should ask the question: what are these? What's the price point on these?
Yeah, $12.50 is what the current ones are renting for. Will hopefully be at $12.70 by the time they get built. $12.75, $12.80, who knows?
Okay. So on the RHIDs, when we ask what affordable is and what they've actually changed the word to attainables and attainable housing instead of affordable.
Well, here's the thing. Statutorily, the word affordable, attainable is not mentioned at all. In testimony in Topeka, people have used the word attainable, affordable. In news articles, people have used the words attainable, affordable. But as far as the statute is concerned, there is no reference to maximum price at all. Where ARCS comes in is at the city level. The city's decided to put in their policy a requirement for affordable, as they define, as no more than 30% of the median family income level as based on United States HUD.
So if you were making, we talked about how to make these decisions. If you were going to make an objective standard to make these decisions, because obviously, like we stated, it doesn't look like we're going to approve every one of them.
Right.
What factors would you want to be included, or for us to include when we make those decisions? Have you thought that through?
Yeah. Well, I think you have the sponsoring entity, which is in this case the city of Lansing, has deemed that it's something desirable for them. And they figured out a way to make it attainable. Because obviously they could have the best plan, but if no one shows up to implement it, it's not going to happen. So you have something that's desirable, you have something that's attainable. I think are both two good measures. The housing study, I think, calls for 500 new homes by 2032. This gets you not even 10% of the way there. So I think maybe where you are in the process of meeting the housing needs might be a place to start putting some more brakes on this RHID. But at this point, Lansing has approved 0 RHIDs, and I think is in no danger of overbuilding. You get 5 years down the road, you've worked with a couple of different developers. Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable time to start putting on shorter terms, lower reimbursement rates.
Okay. Last question. I won't keep peppering you with questions. But the last question I have is, do you draw a distinction between a residential property tax abatement or rebatement as opposed to a commercial property tax abatement?
I mean, it seems like the mechanism's the same.
I mean, but when government's deciding, is there any kind of difference, or do you see them both the same?
I think they're both filling needs. Let's say hypothetically, you imagine another city that has a whole bunch of commercial and no residential. Well, it might make sense for them to not worry about commercial and incent residential, or vice versa. So, obviously commercial generates more taxes, but cities, it's like a three-legged stool. You kind of need all of these different things to have a successful city. You need businesses. People at those businesses have to live. They have to live somewhere.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you answering the questions, and appreciate your all the development you've done in the county.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mike.
We appreciate that. I appreciate your indulgence for letting me ask the questions. My personal position is that I do not believe, and reiterate the fact that it is burden shifting from the private sector to the public sector. And that's not our role here, except in extremely rare cases, to put this onto the taxpayer. So I'm going to oppose this.
Okay. Vanessa, do you have questions?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Greenemeyer. Are you from Leavenworth County?
Yes, for about almost 50 years.
Okay.
Yes.
How invested are you in the future of Lansing City?
From a numerical standpoint, in Leavenworth County, we've got about 350 residential units and probably 50 commercial tenants, probably 20 employees.
Will you be using any of the units being built for Airbnbs within the RHID period?
That is not allowed by statute, so even if I wanted to, I couldn't.
Thank you.
So no.
I have just a couple of things, too. First of all, I keep hearing this, you're going to lose money, tax dollars. Like I've said before, RHIDs, we have to look at each one of them. You can't lose money if you're not making money. So to say we're going to be giving something away if we don't have it coming in, I don't think kind of clear. The other thing is, too, all y'all know I've been out in Lansing for a lot of years. Spent 40 years out there in one form or the other. I know for a fact that there's a housing need out there. And I also know for a fact that nobody's knocking our doors down trying to come out here and build. And he's shown some of the people that are renting these places. I mean, CGSC, you got hotel managers, teachers, military police. There's always a need because I drive it every day. When he was building, they were filled up very quick. Again, I don't think all RHIDs fit in every part of the county, but I really support this one because I think there is a need. Is there any other comments before we go on? We've already got a motion and a second.
I had one.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So I think the biggest problem with this RID legislation is at the state level, once again, it needs to not pin the approval or non-approval on one entity. So if the city has decided this RID will work for them, then and they're willing to abate their part of the taxes for 10, 20 years or whatever it is, and they've decided it won't adversely affect them, it's good for them, then they should be able to do that segment of it. And then if the school approves it, so again, we're having the higher government tell the little government what to do. And this is exactly the principle that I've been fighting against this whole time. So they need to change the law to say if the county doesn't approve it, then it's just the county part of the taxes that don't get abated. The city and the school still get it. The RID goes on, it gets developed, and the city and the school avert their taxes, but the county still gets theirs. The counties is the smallest part of the tax bill anyway, so that probably would work better because you're still going to get a big break. You're just not going to get the county as part of the break. Does that make sense?
I totally agree.
Yeah, that's what I'm. So
Well, I agree with that.
So the legislation needs to be changed, but we at the county commission can't change it.
That's right. I agree with it, Jeff. I think the thing I have to issue with now is we have to do with what the legislators have done.
Yeah.
And so we have to live by it. I don't disagree with your comments.
Yeah.
I hate seeing it come back up here.
Right. And where I'm going with this is, Jeremy, are these going to be rentals or owned? And they're going to be
all rentals.
Okay, and so each RID is a little different. I think RIDs do have a place. If it's a bad part of town that would never get revitalized with any other situation than a RID, that's a great idea. Like I said in the beginning, Greensburg, Kansas, when I was first exposed to these things was way back then. Contractors would build a house, the town that the tornado wiped out completely. It wouldn't be there today if it wasn't for programs like this, because contractors were building brand new houses that cost $200,000. As soon as they're done, they appraise for $20,000. That can't work without anything like a RID. So what I'm scared about with this one is, are you guys familiar with the Genesis bill? I don't know what number it's called. I haven't checked on it lately. Is it still alive? Still happening?
It seems like it keeps wearing his ugly head to us, yeah.
So the Genesis bill, it's on the pretense that if there's a government agency competing with a private agency, then that private agency should be exempt from taxes. So Genesis Health Club owner started this saying, hey, if there's the YMCAs and YWCAs and Gruber Gym and any health club that's competing with me, they don't pay taxes, so I shouldn't have to pay taxes. So they're trying to get the Genesis bill put through that would exempt another entity, health clubs, from paying taxes. If you're not paying attention to this, you really need to, especially for Leavenworth County, because Genesis Bill 2.0, I told you so, right? It's because I'm saying it now. If there's a restaurant competing with a restaurant on the federal land that's not paying taxes, Burger King, they're competing with restaurants that are not on the fort that do pay taxes. So Genesis Bill 2.0 is going to include restaurants. Now all of a sudden all your restaurants are exempt. then it's going to go to grocery stores. If there's a grocery store on post, they're competing with grocery stores in town that have to pay taxes, and the Fort doesn't. So Genesis Bill 2.0 is going to exempt restaurants and grocery stores. Guess what Genesis Bill 3.0 is going to exempt? Michael's Housing on Fort Leavenworth competes with local renters, landlords. So if you have a rental house not on post, you have to pay property taxes. But if you're Michael's Housing on Fort Leavenworth, or you're the VA apartments, you don't have to pay property tax. So Genesis Bill 3.0 down the road here, 7-8 years, is going to exempt rental property. So are you guys familiar with Cerner in Wyandotte County? They were given a 10-year IRB. They didn't even make it 7 years. So we're going to take a risk that rentals are still going to pay taxes in 20 years. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Jeff. There's a lot of things that can change. Hopefully some legislators can too, so we can get this under control. But if you've been down this area, this old train track, there's nothing going to be built there. In fact, I was glad to see somebody wanted to build on this area. If you had the opportunity to go down there, I've seen it because I know exactly what it was. We have to deal with what the laws are in front of us now. And whether we like them or not, this is an opportunity to do some good on a small piece of land. Now, I told you before, I don't agree with all RHID. I voted against it, my own district, because I didn't like what I saw out there. But there's going to be some in Lansing, some in the county that may be a good fit. Leavenworth County has to grow. And we just have to be careful that when we call for the vote, we're making the best decisions. And I know we all won't agree on this, but there are some that can help this Leavenworth County. Now, after that being said, and I've given you guys all plenty of time, we have a motion and a second. I'm the first one. I'm going to say aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
No.
Okay, it fails 3-2. Jeremy, I appreciate you coming in. Okay, next thing we have is the presentation discussions, Wolf Creek Battery Project presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Say that again.
Good morning.
I was having a drink of water when I did it. I'm sorry.
My name's Lauren Kapke. I'm a project developer with Accelergen Energy, and we are developing the Wolf Creek Energy Storage Project here in Leavenworth County. It's a large-scale battery energy storage project. And I want to come give you all an overview of the project here today and what we're proposing before we begin our community outreach and speaking with some of the neighbors so that if you hear from them, you're aware of the project. All right, first I'll go into Accelergen Energy, who we are. So we're a developer of utility-scale battery energy storage systems. We were founded in 2022. We're based in Austin, Texas. The company is pretty young, but we have a lot of experience on the team. So our leadership team each has over 20 years of experience in the industry. I myself have 6 years of development experience in this industry. And we've collectively developed, financed, and constructed over 4.5 gigawatts, actually, that's a typo, of battery and renewables projects. So that's over 100 projects. And we focus on the Southwest power pool markets and other markets in western states. So that's what brought us here to Kansas. I want to give a little background on what a battery energy storage system, or BESS, is. So these are large-scale battery systems that store electricity from the existing transmission grid when there's abundant energy on the grid, and then they release that energy at times when it is needed. So these aren't connected to any sort of electricity generation. They're just connected to the grid, and they store during times when there's excess energy and then release that during times when there's peak demand, for example. Say everyone's turning on their AC, the batteries would start discharging that energy. So they help optimize the grid by shifting when electricity is used. And then why are we here in Leavenworth County? Whoop. Having some technical difficulties. So we have an in-house analytics team that analyzes hundreds of substations in various markets, and they target substations that show BESS will have a large impact. So those battery systems will help optimize the grid a lot at those substations. This is also an area of growing electricity demand near a large metro area. There does exist a vehicle for permitting with the county, so other counties, it can be unclear if these can be permitted or the process may be difficult. Not saying it will be easy here, but there is a vehicle for permitting the project. Also, our analytics teams look for substations that show we can bring projects online faster, so there's fewer barriers to bringing that project online with the utility. That typically means it will require fewer upgrades to the existing transmission system for bringing it online. Just to give you an overview of the project, so we named it Wolf Creek Energy Storage. It's adjacent to Wolf Creek. It is a utility scale BESS project. The size is 199 megawatts with a 4-hour charge duration. That means it has a total capacity of 796 megawatt hours. What does that mean? That's about the amount of energy it would take to power 27,500 average Kansas homes for one full day. So the batteries can charge that amount of energy and discharge it every day. We're developing this on a property that's about a mile northwest of Bonner Springs. We have a purchase option with a private landowner for a 30-acre portion of his parcel, and it's adjacent to an Evergy substation. It's in unincorporated Leavenworth County, right near the intersection of Metro Ave and 146th Street. The parcel is currently zoned RR 2.5 residential and agricultural, and private utilities are allowed on that zoning with a special use permit. So that's what we would be applying for. The earliest commercial operation date would be late 2028 if we started construction in 2027. The goal would be to bring the project online before 2030, so it may be a little bit later than 2028, depending how things develop. And the project life is 20 years. Here I have some maps. I'm going to zoom out a little. So the upper map shows with that yellow star the project location. And the lower right map is that parcel that we have a purchase agreement for, the green portion of the parcel. And in the lower right corner is that Evergy substation that we would connect the project to. So I want to go over what the components are of a battery storage project. This is a schematic of what a typical battery storage project looks like. Our project wouldn't look exactly like this, but it would look similar. So of course there's batteries. They are housed in a custom metal housing that's about the size of a container you'd see on the back of a semi-truck. And they're in there in racking systems. And then as well as in those containers, there are fire detection and suppression systems and HVAC systems, so fans to keep the batteries at an optimal operating temperature. Also on the property would be medium voltage transformers and inverters, converting the power between DC and AC power, whether it's being stored or put back onto the grid, and stepping up and down voltage as needed. And a project substation that collects all of the power before it would go on a transmission line to connect to that Evergy substation. as well as there's fencing around the property. There may be some structures for storage of tools or supplies, and then locked gates as well. So what are some of the community benefits? This would be a minimum of a $200 million investment in the local economy, so contributing to local economic activity. It'll be a source of new stable tax revenue for public services, which I've definitely heard a lot about today. I realize that's an issue for the county, so we're projecting a minimum of $19 million in property tax contributions over the 20-year life. That'll go to the county, school district, Fairmount Township, the library, and any other special districts. There'll be some local job creation, especially during construction. We project about 115 jobs to be created, and there'll be 2 long-term technical positions of people doing operations and maintenance at the facility. And we do prioritize local hiring with the construction contractors we work with. Over time, projects like this should reduce regional energy costs by optimizing when that energy is used and shifting it. It can reduce reliance on less efficient generation sources, which should reduce rates for ratepayers. There are spillover benefits to local businesses, so increased use of local goods and services during both construction and operations. And Accelergen, our goal is to own these projects and be operating them in the community over the 20 years. So we do like to contribute via donations to the local community and become more of a partner. During development and construction, we contribute $5,000 per quarter to a local nonprofit. And during the operations period, we change that to become a scholarship fund for a student at a local technical school or community college in a STEM-related field. I want to go over some of the impacts that we have to think about during development. So here we go. That's a little better. A big one is stormwater and flooding, so making sure we're not constructing or proposing infrastructure in the floodplain or following any local ordinance and FEMA guidance if that's the case. And as well as we're adjacent to Wolf Creek, so avoiding any impacts to that creek. Visual impacts, so this may be visible to some of the neighbors of the project. We do visual studies and use things like barrier walls or vegetation barrier to kind of hide the site and make it look like it currently does. So the picture on the slide is actually from the site. It's currently surrounded by a lot of vegetation, and we kind of just want to maintain that look for people. Wildlife and habitat protection. So the parcel is currently farmed, which means luckily there's no critical habitats we'll be disturbing. We will be following U.S. Fish and Wildlife best practices and Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks best practices for avoiding impacts to avian species. So starting construction outside of nesting season, for example. Noise and lighting. So as I mentioned, the units do have fans inside them, and there will be a transformer on the site, and those both generate noise. So we do a noise study to ensure that we're in compliance with any local regulations and that noise at property lines of neighbors is not a nuisance. And lighting is typically motion activated and downward facing, so it's not going to be producing a lot of light pollution at night. Traffic, there's typically quite a bit of traffic during construction for equipment deliveries and personnel visiting the site. Traffic during operations is pretty negligible with just those 2 employees visiting the site weekly. They're not there daily. So we're happy to enter into a road use agreement with the county and do a road study before and after construction along with any road improvements required.
Yeah, that'd be a must. Yeah.
Lastly, decommissioning is usually a big issue. We don't want you to be left with a battery site to decommission if for some reason the project is discontinued. We would do a decommissioning study and a decommissioning cost estimate that we would use as the basis for a bond or letter of credit for that full amount of decommissioning, so that the county has that resource if we were to, for some reason, abandon the project. I also want to talk about safety. So these are large-scale batteries, and we want to make sure we're developing them in a safe manner that doesn't impact the surrounding community. We choose a safe technology that is lithium iron phosphate batteries. They operate at a lower voltage than other batteries, and they're more stable, so they're not really prone to thermal runaway, which can cause fires. Also, they don't have toxic materials inside of them, so if for some reason one were to break open, there wouldn't be like toxic waste produced by the site. Additionally, inside those containers are fire detection and suppression systems and a battery management system that can turn off the batteries. If for any reason there's an issue, they can turn them off remotely. They are monitored 24/7 from a remote operations center, and the operational employees will live within 20 to 30 minutes of the site and could get there quickly in the case of an emergency. And we're also already coordinating with the Fairmount Township Fire Department to come up with an emergency response plan and coordinating with them. And just a bit of a timeline for you. So I'm here giving you the overview today. Later this afternoon and tomorrow I'll be visiting with some of the neighbors to invite them to a meeting later this month to give them more information about the project and hear their questions, concerns, and ongoing.
When will that be? When will that meeting be?
We haven't scheduled it yet, but we're aiming for the last week of the month.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. And ongoing, we're working on site design and our special use permit application and hoping to submit it before the end of the year. And the earliest construction start, as I mentioned, would be 2027 with the earliest operations date of 2028. And that's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Comments?
Comments?
Concerns? Mike?
I'll go. Why don't I listen to everybody else and I'll.
Because we'd like to get those 40-minute presentations out of the way.
I can cross the questions I have off.
I understand. I like the presentation. I had a chance to study it. Willie, do you have anything for you?
No, I don't. I'll probably have something later. This is in my district.
Okay.
And I'd like to have some more data so I can ask some more questions that'll make more sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vanessa, you have anything? Jeff?
Not really. This is the old Price Hog Farm, right?
Honestly, I'm not familiar with
Okay.
the farm name. So.
Yeah, back in the day, that was Price's old hog farm.
He's been here a long time, so you know.
That's mostly
back in the day.
Good to know.
That's mostly in the floodplain, but that's not an issue. It looks like they worked around the floodplain.
Yeah, so the southern part of the parcel we're proposing to purchase is mostly in floodplain, so we'd probably be constructing in that northern portion outside of the floodplain.
Would it hurt these facilities to get flooded? Say 3 feet deep of water?
For batteries, it would not be good. The only structures we would have in the floodplain would be transmission line poles.
Okay. And I didn't see in the plans any kind of berms or anything built, like a dike, to protect it from the floodplain. Do you know if that's in the plans? Or?
So the site where we construct the actual batteries will be graded to drain into like a drainage pond that will then slowly outlet into that floodplain area, probably.
So that could work backwards then to keep floodwater out?
Well, so the part we'll be building on will be a bit higher in elevation than the floodplain area.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it should drain away.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yes, okay, Mike.
Following up on that,
Sure.
the containers are loaded with lithium batteries. Are they the small? explain what kind of lithium batteries you're
Yeah,
loading them up
so
with.
they're lithium-ion batteries, a similar technology to the ones we have in our phones, for example, but they're much larger. And these particular ones are lithium iron phosphate batteries. It's a type of lithium-ion battery, and they're housed, like they're individual battery cells housed in large plastic modules, and then those modules are in a racking system inside of the containers.
How full do the containers go?
Like how tall?
Yeah.
They're about 10 to 12 feet tall.
So almost to the, leaves a little room at the top, but almost?
Yeah, inside, so the batteries don't go all the way up because at the top is the HVAC system, and then around the perimeter of the container there's, sensors and electrical equipment, but they're mostly full with batteries.
And you're trying to keep them cool? Is that,
Yeah, the fans help them operate at a, optimal temperature.
and how does winter weather affect them?
So the lithium iron phosphate batteries operate at a variety of temperatures. They're very stable, so that's one reason why we chose them. Other technologies struggle in cold weather, and the containers do have some insulation to keep them.
So if there was first of all, has your company been involved in any kind of, out in California there's been some fires?
Yes.
So that wasn't your company?
No, that was not our company, and so our design is following the current best practices for safety. The ones in California were inside of a building, stacked on top of each other. That's definitely not a best practice now. The best practice is to have them outside and not stacked on top of each other. So that's what we would have in our design.
And you're in a floodway, not a floodplain, is that right?
Other way around.
Oh, you're in a floodplain. Then
There's
you're
a
gonna, you're going to
floodplain
build it up.
nearby.
So if, let's say a storage container was flooded up to the mid-level of the storage container, is there going to be any leakage into the water?
There shouldn't be because they're inside of their plastic housing, but if the plastic housing were to get broken, there could be some sort of leakage into the water stream. So that will need to be addressed in our emergency response plan and a hazard mitigation plan. In case something like that happens, what is the plan to clean it up, to monitor?
Okay.
mitigate
And maybe
those
we could
impacts.
even, in our development agreement, figure out a way to make even that be hardened even more.
Sure.
Are we having to do this because, like, we have the Panasonic plant right down the road?
Mm-hmm.
Is that one of the reasons? Is because we're needing such a demand for power? Is that what the deal is?
The main reason is the projected growth in power demand over the next 10 to 20 years. So in the U.S. as a whole, we're projected to almost double our power demand in the next 10 to 20 years. And so these types of projects are really going to help optimize the grid and reduce the stress on the grid for those scenarios.
Okay.
Is that for houses or commercial?
Mostly commercial. A lot of it has to do with repatriation of industry that we're now aiming for, as well as AI and data centers. They are very heavy.
Data centers especially.
Heavy loads.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So are you familiar with community benefit agreements?
Yes.
Okay, could you kind of describe what that is, and would you be open to considering that for this project?
Yeah, so typically it'd be something where we agree to pay a particular amount, maybe annually or for a certain number of years, that goes into the community fund.
Would that be something that would be paid right to the county, or would that be, what government body do you usually pay
We
that to?
typically pay it to the county.
What have your interactions been with currently with the neighbors? Is there support, opposition, or they don't even know what's happening yet?
They don't know yet, so later today,
they're finding out today.
I could give you a call if you like and let you know. Or I don't know if any of them are here today, listening
Some of them are.
and watching. So, yeah, we wanted to introduce it to you first so that you're aware before we start speaking with the community.
That's a nice way to do it.
And the reclamation of the project when it's all done, this is going to go back to just the way it is.
Yes, everything gets decommissioned, all the equipment and electrical lines and the transmission line, and then it gets restored to as close as possible to its current state, so it could be farmed again.
Could that site grow? Could you add additional containers?
We couldn't grow on this particular site. There's really not room to fit
Okay.
additional development. We would have to go get another property. We don't foresee that at
You
this
don't see
time.
that?
We see this
Okay.
as a single phase project.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it sounds like we're going to be hearing back from you some more. This sounds like a good project to me.
Yes, in a few months, I'll be seeing
Yeah.
you.
I like what I'm hearing so far.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions for him?
No.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the presentation.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
It's brought to my attention that we probably have to reword that motion you made in order to make it effective, because your motion was affirmative, and I think we need to make it.
Commissioners.
So it's a negative motion, correct?
Well, Commissioners, you had three options on it, on the RHID, so we do need to go back to it. Traditionally, when something fails to approve, it just dies, but that's not the case here. The motion was to affirmatively approve the RHID. So if you take no further action today, the RHID is going to be approved because there was no adverse impact found to the county and no resolution was adopted finding an adverse impact. So the matter still needs to be considered.
So we just need to reword the motions to make it the one that's in the packet. Could you mind reading that?
You need to make a new
I
motion.
don't have it right in front of me.
Here it is, Mark. One at the bottom.
Okay, so I can. Okay, so if I just made the motion that the proposed reinvestment housing incentive district has an adverse effect on Leavenworth County, and to move to adopt resolution 2025-31 to nullify the creation of the RHID.
If you
Correct?
wish, yes, if you wish to nullify it.
So that's my motion.
You have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on it? Okay. No.
Just voting again.
Absolutely.
Doing the same vote again?
It's the
Yeah,
opposite
we
way.
just have to word it different. It has to be worded the opposite way. So if you were voting the same
No.
way, you'd vote aye.
Same way, vote aye.
Vanessa?
No.
Aye.
Aye.
No. Well, I already said that once, haven't I? Okay.
Twice as painful.
Right.
Okay, next thing is just going around the room. I don't have anything additional. Willie, do you have anything?
No, I did not, Commissioner.
That's what I was looking for. Vanessa, you have anything?
Yeah, I do. So,
Go right ahead.
some things I've already stressed, which is that I'm not going to rehash it. It's just continually disappointing. But if we're going to sit here and vote against development, then I would also like the commissioners to bring their ideas for abatement-free development, because they must know something I don't. And that's it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I do have a suggestion. I would like to make a motion along those lines that we redirect our economic development funds for fiscal year 25 and 26, and that we send a letter to the Port Authority requesting $500,000 of the $750,000 reserve balance to be put into a fund held by the county for the development of an industrial park in Leavenworth County, and that we have a work session to determine how that process will proceed. And that will directly impact bringing economic development of the county, because we will be taking the bull by the horns and saying we want another industrial park in the county. And when we had LCDC here last week, they said they've shut down their committee that's even working on that issue. So that would be my motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second. Any discussion? No.
No.
Can you give me some more details on what you expect that will look like?
I hope that we'll be able to develop the commissioners, that we would have maybe a different group of folks to look at economic development and specifically focus on getting an industrial park built using the monies. It'll be over $500,000. Actually, it'll be over $600,000. And we have this land that Senator Klemp is trying to help us with. That would be a possibility for one of the areas that could be developed if that comes through. And I think this last week when they spoke, they said they shut the committee down. They haven't even been working on that. So it's very clear that we need to move ahead. And I think this would answer your question. We can make an impact.
I think just to step in there, since we started a discussion on this again, I don't think it's time for this. I think if we're going to do that, to Mike's point, is we probably need to sit down and have that conversation about what the staff wants to do with that, stuff like that. Just to come up and just say no all of a sudden. I have been disappointed that we haven't moved any further down the path with that group. Not that I'm upset with LCDC like that. It just seems that we just keep kicking that ball down and we haven't come up with a good solution. So that's just my 2 cents. Vanessa, you had the floor.
So you're saying, can you say your motion again?
The motion is to redirect the fiscal year 25 and 26 economic development funds into the county economic development fund and request from the Port Authority $500,000 return to be used for an industrial park development committee, and then we have a work session to develop how that will move forward.
So you're asking $500,000 from the Port Authority fund to be returned to the county's economic development fund
for the purpose of developing an industrial park.
And then the 25-26 funds, which would be what, 160?
It'd be $87,000 each year.
Okay. So how does that work if we are requesting funds from Port Authority? What does that look like?
Send them a letter.
What'd you say?
Commissioner, I guess it would be similar to any agency going to the Port Authority and requesting funding for a project. We can ask. They're not obligated to return the money. Even though it is county money, they're not obligated to return it. It would just be asking them for the money first.
So this is a request, and then who decides? The board of the Port Authority?
Livermore County Port Authority
will
board.
Vote on it, or will decide to even
they
agenda
have
it?
the decision's theirs, how they want to handle it.
And it would go towards, we've said, when we asked them last week, they've shut down their committee on the industrial park. So this would be us taking the bull by the horns and saying,
yes.
We're going to move ahead.
Would you vote, Vanessa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mike? Okay, passes 3-2. Well, who else can we pick a fight with?
Oh, we're not picking a fight.
Who else is there? Who else can we pick a fight with?
Fight.
Yeah.
A big one.
Okay, I went down thinking, Vanessa, is that all you had? Okay, Jeff, do you have anything?
No.
Mike?
I do not.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion is, we're adjourned.